Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. I'm Dylan Roberts. I'm a solutions architect here at Decisions on the professional services team. So throughout this, feel free to put some questions in the chat. Um, do you have one pre-submitted question? So I will get to that first. After that, if there's no other questions, I'll go demo a few brief things and call it a day. So let's go ahead and get started. So first question is just a general question on how to set up the portal for mobile phone access and use. So yeah, so the mobile portal is something that got revamped starting in version 8.12. And it's actually pretty cool. So let's go through a couple of things to configure that. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to open up in an incognito window just because it's easier for me to test with. Okay. So the first thing to configure the mobile portal to work with is you'd want to go to your settings. So your system folder settings, you're going to want to go to portal settings. So let's go edit this. Then what I would recommend is just search for mobile. There's a bunch of settings in here, but these will be your mobile specific settings. So there's not too many. The first option is a mobile view page, default mobile view. This is if you want to set a default folder when a user accesses the mobile portal. So one thing I will say is that with the revamp, when you accessing it from a mobile device, it'll automatically show the user the mobile portal. They won't have access to the regular setup. So you could set a default page, but then there's three other options here. So with the default UI for the mobile portal, you have a workflows tab, inbox tab, and folders tab. This configuration, you always have to have at least one of these checked. But for this, we'll just have all three and kind of show what that looks like. So let's go ahead. The way I like to test, at least on my computer, is to use developer tools and click this little toggle up here. This will let you toggle to be in mobile device. We could say you could choose which one you'd want. In this case, we'll just choose an iPhone 14. Right now, you'll see we're looking at the same portal, but if I go ahead, refresh this, you'll see that it defaults us to the mobile view. So this is what your users would experience when logging in through their phone. So
No,
to those settings. Oh, is there a
sorry to
question?
interrupt. I don't
Am
think
I
you're
sharing
correct.
the wrong screen?
Yeah, I think so.
I am sorry about that. I wonder if it didn't move over because I put an incognito window. Uh, can you guys see this? Is that better?
Yep.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I guess it didn't like the incognito window. So did you see any of the settings? I'll go back to doing that if we didn't.
No.
Okay, fair. Let me see. I'll just go through the settings on this browser real quick, since this is still in the regular studio. System settings, portal settings. So in portal settings, you search for mobile. Then this was the option, the default mobile view page, where you can pick which one it defaults to when users access it. Then this was the drop downs or the selections for what tabs are available to the user. One always has to be selected, but you have your choice of workflows, inbox, or folders. Um, so just keep this as it is, and then let me go back to the other real quick. Okay. Yep. So this was the incognito window. I opened up DevTools on the developer tools. Uh, Top left, I hit this toggle device and I chose which device I wanted to use. So when you get to the screen, you could choose which device you'd want to represent, and then you refresh it and it will show up in the portal view for you to use. So what we have here, this is the folders tab. This is just going to show different folders you have exposed to this given user. Inbox works just like the inbox in the studio. These are assignments that the user currently has to follow up on and work. And then you'll have your workflow catalog. So these are the available workflows that they can run, that current user can run. So it's pretty simple. I will say I don't have much experience putting in like custom dashboards for this or custom views. So I won't be able to speak to that real well. One thing I can show though is, let's say you have a workflow you want exposed in your mobile portal. So like in this general, I have a fill out information workflow. If I go back to my studio view real quick, run this workflow, general, fill out information, you'll see I have this one form that I've set up specifically to be used on the browser. If you go into this workflow, on your form, you have the ability to specify what you'd want in the browser. And then when a user accesses that workflow through mobile, what should that form look like? So if I go jump back to my mobile portal real quick, I run this workflow. You can tell it's a different form. This is a form I designed to be more mobile user friendly. And what that would look like in your workflow is, let me go here and edit it. Edit this workflow. Is on the form setup, you'll have an option to choose your standard form that gets hit. And then you'll also have the ability to pick or choose your mobile form that you want displayed.
So you manually have to create two separate forms. There's not like dynamic changing yet.
Yeah, it doesn't dynamically change yet. So you would have to create the two different views.
Okay.
Yep.
And so if we have a client who's on version 8.9, we'd have to get them upgraded to at least 8.12 before we could utilize a lot of this.
Yep. So that would be for the default portal experience. I think on 8.9 we still have the concept of there's still mobile forms and accessing it that way,
Mhm.
but I don't think you have the full portal experience then.
Okay.
With the inbox and that setup. Yeah. So hopefully this helps point you in the right direction. I wish I could speak to how to set up custom mobile dashboards. That's something I just haven't really dived into too far yet with that.
Yeah, that's my first foray into it as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. It is pretty cool though. Like that I do like how it automatically switches into this view though. It is something that it's pretty neat that it just does it automatically. Let me just fill this out. Let me see though real quick. If I follow up on a non-mobile form, what does it do? Yeah. Oh wait, this is these might be just dead bad assignments. Let me just see. Yeah, see, if you have a non-mobile design form, it kind of just is an ugly experience at that point. So it still would run. It's just not going to be a friendly
just have
experience.
to swipe a lot.
Yeah, you just have to
Okay.
swipe and move all over the screen. But it's still it won't prevent you from running it.
Okay.
Cool. Anything else you'd like me to kind of look into for you on this, or is this a good starting point?
No, that's a good starting point.
Okay.
So yeah, I was trying to create a dashboard, and it seems like there's some, I guess, page properties or catalog items that don't work on mobile, because I tried doing this dev tool thing to do it, and it just said the form's not set up for mobile. So
Yep. So
just got to find the right properties, I guess.
yeah, on our doc site, there's actually a glossary of supported forms, form controls. Let me pull that up real quick. Let's see. Yeah, so here's a list of controls that we currently support and don't support. Let's see if there's something specific with pages. Now, if you do come across something that you'd really want supported, of course, you can submit a ticket. We're actively revamping this. There's features being added consistently now to it. as we get more users to onboard to it. Yeah,
Okay.
so here's our list of page controls.
All right, yeah, that'll be helpful.
Awesome. Here, I'll put this in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Okay. Do we have any other questions that anybody wanted to cover? Don't see any yet. So what we can do, just not to end it this early, I can go demo something that's come up quite frequently in the last couple of weeks, and it is involving importing data from CSV files. So there's a lot of ways you can manually import data from CSVs within a workflow. Let me go into here. Let me just open up an example real quick. Create a flow. So there's a lot of steps under data, Excel and CSV, different steps to map in your file. You can use CSV to database mapping, CSV to list for each Excel or CSV row. Each of these steps require some configuration on your end to get the file to basically deserialize into your data type that you're looking for in decisions. But there is one thing that I've seen not as commonly used, and it's creating a CSV structure in decisions. So what a CSV structure is you go to create a data type, and you'll see the option here, XML, JSON, and CSV. So similarly, like with the JSON and XMLs, you can upload one of those files or structures, and it'll create a data type to support that. We have the same concept for a CSV file. So with this, you can give it just a generic name, just call lunch and learn data. But you have the ability here to either paste your CSV or you could read it from a file. So let's just go create a new file real quick. Let's use Macaru to do this. Okay, so there's actually this cool thing I found on Macaru recently where you're trying to create test data. You can use AI to do it. So if we want to do flight logs, and let's say we want 30 fields of this flight log, replace existing fields. It's just going to create us some dummy data to work with. Okay. So it's generated just this dummy structure for us. Let's now generate some data. Okay. So we got all this mock data to now work with. Let's go create a structure from this. So I'll minimize this, go back into decisions. And now we're going to choose our file from our downloads and choose mock data 3. You can let it decisions auto select the type, or you can specify that it's a CSV, an Excel file. What I like to do is specify that first row is my field names for this type, and then ignore empty rows. So let's go create this. So what it's doing is it just created basically a flow structure per se to store these fields so you could work with it in your workflow. It just takes the CSV, tries to parse what type that column is supporting. So flight number is a decimal, airline string, can detect date times, and it kind of just creates this flow structure. But you'll get this pop up so you can override if something doesn't look right. So maybe flight duration is a string, not a decimal. You can overwrite that here. But this is just kind of the first pass. This is what Decisions has detected as your data type. So now let's go ahead and save it. We'll just say that everything looks good and it's good to go. So now when we want to go use that, Let's go to, let's close all these compile things. Let's see, lunch and learn, Excel import. So now rather than going to data, Excel, and creating your mappings or setting one of those steps to do it for you, you can scroll down to user defined types. You'll see here we have CSV structures. And then we have my lunch and learn data. And basically you'll get two steps here. You'll get a deserialized step, which will take in the file as an input and output your type that it generated for you. But you also have a serialized step. Let's say your process has built up this array of your data type. You can just pass that to the step and it'll serialize it to the CSV for you. So let's go, just choose a constant and let's choose the file we've just worked with here. Hit OK. Now if we were to debug it and view output, I think there's a lot of rows, so this might be a little slower. But what we could see here is it took that CSV file without us having to specify the mappings and gave us our flow structure object to work with. So now that we can work with the data, we can run rules against it. We can import it to different tables. We kind of have free reign to do what we want with this. But this, the reason I like bringing this up and showing people is it really speeds up your time when trying to work with CSV files. I will say there are specific scenarios where this is better, where you should use the other steps rather than this one. Maybe if you have unstructured CSV files and you need to provide some logic to it, you can't. You want to do some logic to detect what rows come in on this file. Maybe there's some added, some removed. Then I would recommend looking into some of those Excel steps because we have ways to handle that with like dynamic imports. But if you have a standardized file that is consistently the same, I highly recommend using this step because it just makes things a lot simpler. And for say your CSV changes, if you ever want to go make an update, you just go and edit your structure. So let's go to, where did I save it? Right here. You can just hit edit structure. And then basically you could re-upload a form, re-upload your file for it, and it'll regenerate and make updates accordingly to that data type. Yeah. So are there any questions on that piece?
So this would work if you have a blank template Excel file and you just maybe have the column names. Would it work?
Yeah.
Without...
Yeah, it would work. The problem with what you might run into there is that the conversions might not work. And what I mean by that is if you didn't have any example data or sample data for it to detect, you might have a date column, but it'd be set as a string because there was nothing there. But if you just put one row of sample data to say like this column, I'm expecting a date field. This column, I'm expecting a string. This is a number. Then it would create the type with the correct format for you.
Okay.
Yeah, this is something. It's not commonly used, but it's super valuable when you're trying to get. It saves a lot of time in the long run, honestly. Cool. So one more thing that's come up recently is access patterns in decisions. And access patterns are something I haven't actually used as much as I should have. Honestly, it was something I didn't know about. But access patterns are for external tables, specifically when you're connecting. Let's say you have an external database integration. Access patterns allow you to create steps to get that data a lot quicker. So let's go through an example. Let me go to one of my external tables I have. External database test, and then I have a persons table that I created or that I'm linking to. So if I right click this, I can hit manage additional access. What this is going to do is now allow me to add an access pattern. So on this data type, I have 4 fields. I have an age, first name, last name, person ID. So I want to have a step generated to just get me all records by age. So get by age. Just give it a description. And then I'm going to specify, I want to use the age field here. If I save this, and now I go into a workflow, open a new, I'll just go through here. We'll go to that same flow I just had, Excel import. For database steps, you go to integration, database, and then you choose your database. Just when we did the example test. Let's see. Oh, table persons. We'll see there's a generated step now called get by age. So this would be the access pattern. Let me map to it. We now have a default input of age, which is what I want. So let me just say if like age is 98. And then you could choose what type of lookup you want to do against that field. So if you make this a constant, you'll get a drop down. You could say, I want to fetch all records where age equals, does not equal, is greater than, less than. This will change based off of what your field type is. So since this is the number, I just want to say, get me all records. Let's just do less than or equal to 98. So if I debug this now, I should see a bunch of records where age is less than or equal to 98. The reason I find this so powerful is because when you're storing entities and decisions, you can just use the out of the box fetch entity step. But there isn't that concept with external tables. So this is where access patterns could be useful to quickly say and really limit what a person can do to that external table by you creating these generalized steps. So you could say by age, I could have said by first name, last name, could have did by person ID. You could basically choose any field on your external table. Now there are other ways I could have done this exact same thing. I could have wrote a defined query to say select all person records where age is less than 98. You could certainly still continue to do that, but the access pattern kind of just allows you to not have to write that SQL statement. Just let decisions do it for you in the backend. So yeah, that's something that's just come up. Just wanted to point out. Any questions on access patterns? Okay, I don't think there are any, and I don't see anything else in the chat. Yeah, so that was all I had prepared for today. So if there's no other questions, I guess we can kind of call the session here. Cool. Thanks everyone for joining.